Hey everybody, welcome to Tom's Movie Channel, and I'm Tom Hunyadi. How you all doing? So some of you may know me from a couple of shows that I do, and I will talk about those later on in this video. But today, I thought rather than just do an introduction video and tell you all what I'm going to do, I figured I'd just do that with each video that I do and explained what the video will be. And this first series of videos that I want to do, it's I'm not sure how often I'll do them. I'm hoping I'll do a couple every month, and this will be I'll call it 1973. And why 1973? Well, because that was the year I was born, and I'm going to feature films from that year. Okay, like I said, 1973 was the year I was born. I There's a lot of good films from 1973, and we're going to explore most of those videos. And I'll talk about some of my favorites. I'll talk about some of my least favorites. And but today, I figured I'll do one with my favorite actor of all time. And some people may already know. And then as you're watching these videos of mine, and you'll find out that Robert De Niro is my favorite actor. And I wanted to start with Mean Streets, starring De Niro and Harvey Keitel. Now, this film, I discovered this film back in the early '90s. I first My first De Niro film that I watched was Goodfellas back in 1990, and then a couple years later, '92, then I discovered Taxi Driver, and then it was all downhill or uphill or whatever after that. And then I just started watching more and more of his movies. So I got to Mean Streets probably, in that year, 1992. I had a video store right across the street from where I was living at that time, and I would just pick up, every De Niro movie that I could find. And one of those was Mean Streets, and first, it was on VHS, and I had probably watched it, 10, 12 times within those first couple years of discovering Robert De Niro films. And I was also discovering other films as well at the time, going into the classics and all genres of film. But this was the first collaboration between Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro, and second with Harvey Keitel because he had done "Who's That Knocking at My Door" a couple years prior, and then he did Boxcar Bertha after that. So Keitel, or I'm not sorry, but Scorsese, had a couple films under his belt, and he had heard of Robert De Niro through Brian De Palma, who had already done three films with him: The Wedding Party, Greetings, and Hi Mom. So, and they had talked about kind of knowing each other earlier on in their lives, growing up. So, Mean Streets. Well, what I really like about this is it's a gangster film in a way, lower level, gangsters. It's not as flashy as say Goodfellas or Casino, but it is kind of like a forgotten classic in my opinion. And it's you know, the acting I think is fantastic. From Keitel and De Niro, and there's some other actors, standout actors in here as well that I'll talk about when I get to that. But it's really, I think De Niro really steals this movie. And as you can see, Robert De Niro got the top credit over Harvey Keitel, and that's kind of weird because Harvey is really the main lead in this film. And I'm going to talk about a few scenes here that I really appreciate in this film. And you know, if you've seen this before, fine. If you haven't seen this before, I mean, the scenes that I'll talk about. A little spoiler. I mean, I'm still deciding whether or not I'm going to do spoilers in these videos or not. If you think I should, leave it in the comments. And if you think I shouldn't, well, then I'll keep that in mind for future videos regarding films of 1973. If you haven't seen these films yet, but um, the first scene I want to talk about in this film is pretty much the introduction of the four main leads. Okay, so you get Keitel his opening scene, and then you get the credits, and then you're introduced to the four main leads. And the first character you meet is his name is Tony. Now Tony owns the bar where a lot of this film is taking place. Okay, he's played by David Proval. You may know him from The Sopranos as well. Okay, so he's the bar owner. You see him going in to use the restroom, and then he sees someone getting ready to shoot up, and he grabs him, and he's pushing him out of the bathroom, and then outside, and then he grabs the cellar. He grabs him, and he pulls him outside, and he's yelling at his pretty much his bodyguard, telling him, what are you doing? You're supposed to be watching this. So that's how we meet Tony. Next, we meet Michael, who is a loan shark, if you will. He loans people money, and we're gonna find out he loans one of the main characters money, and we're gonna find out what happens later on. But he's played by Richard Raminis, and he was also in The Sopranos as well. Some of you may have seen him in there. He's a lower level, gangster, if you will, or gangster wannabe, and you see him. He's he just bought a shipment of what he thinks is lenses. All right, so he's goes to the guy who's going to buy them, and he shows them, and he ends up telling him that he bought japped adapters, so not the lenses that he thinks, and it's not the shipment that it's not as pricey as he thought that this was. So you're kind of seeing, these leads, and getting a sense of what they're dealing with, and who they are, and not all of them are on the straight level. Next up, you meet Johnny Boy. Now, first thing you see is a mailbox, and Johnny Boy walks by, and he puts something in the mailbox and starts running. Next thing you know, the mailbox blows up. So Johnny Boy is played by Robert De Niro, and and he's just a thug, a gambler, and he's a troublemaker, really, and he's a nuisance for Charlie, who we end up meeting next, and Charlie is, I guess, he's a mobster. He's his uncle is a high level mafioso, if you will, and Charlie, we see him. Uh, he's got a lot of issues, right? He's his uncle is doesn't want him to hang out with Johnny Boy. He wants him to hang out with you know better people, not necessarily lower life scum. So we meet Charlie, and we get to see how all three of these characters, and plus his girlfriend Teresa, how he's got to deal with all of these things throughout this movie, and some of it turns out good, and some of it turns out bad. Well, a lot of it turns out bad, but the next movie I want to talk, or the next scene I want to talk about is Charlie's entrance into the bar, where, like I said, a lot of this movie takes place. Okay, so Charlie comes in. There's the Rolling Stones song "Tell Me" is playing, and you see Charlie in a good mood. He's dancing, and he's walking around, dancing around the bar. He's going up to the dancers on the stage, and dancing with them. He's dancing with one of the dancers whose name is Diane, and goes to sit down, and he's talking about Diane and how beautiful he is, how beautiful she is, and says, well, the only problem is she's black, which is a topic that's been handled before in other movies. One I can think of right off the top of my head was A Bronx Tale that Robert De Niro directed, and then Michael comes up to Charlie, and then that's where we really get a sense of what the film's going to be about. And he says that Johnny Boy is late on his payments. Now, Johnny Boy borrowed money from Michael, and he's supposed to pay a certain amount back every week. Okay, so Charlie says, "Okay, don't worry, I'll talk to him, and we'll get you your money." Okay, so next scene, then enters Johnny Boy into the bar, and man, one of the great introductions into a film. For me personally, you see Johnny Boy with two women. They're at the coat check, and the ladies are checking their coats, and Johnny Boy checks his pants. Kind of funny. Now when uh, now when he gets his pants back on, he turns around and he's heading towards Charlie. It goes in slow motion, and the song from Rolling Stones, "Jumping Jack Flash," plays. It's a really great scene. Once that song comes on, it's slow motion, and you see Johnny Boy with the two women. They're laughing, and then they finally get to Charlie, and Charlie's all, well, "What is this?" And Johnny's like, "Hey, let's get these two girls some drinks, and drinks are on me." And then Charlie sees Johnny Boy with a wad of money in his hand, and then he goes, "Hey, what's this?" And Johnny Boy's like, what? And he goes, "What's this?" And he goes, "This?" He goes, "Yeah, what's this?" And then he goes, "In the back." And he goes, "Wait, you're gonna embarrass me in front of the girls." He goes, "In the back." So they're in the back, and Johnny Boy's trying to explain to Charlie, "Well, I was gambling, and I was up, and then the lookout said the cops were coming, and I came back, and then I lost everything, and then I owe this person money, I owe that person money." And he pretty much, what we find out is Johnny Boy has borrowed money from everybody that he could borrow money from, and he consistently doesn't pay them back. But it's a wonderful scene. And then they come back from talking in the back, and then Johnny Boy goes, "Hey, do you think we can put this on my tab?" And then and, and then Tony goes, "Which tab? The big tab or the smaller tab?" And then Johnny Boy goes, "Well, you think maybe we can put this on the smaller tab?" And then Charlie goes, "Oh, so they even out?" And he goes, "Yeah, so they even out," which is a great scene. I really hope you guys have seen this, uh, but then the next scene that's really really cool is it's the pool hall scene. Now, Charlie is helping a friend out collect money, which is owed to him. This friend had made a bet, and the bookie hasn't paid yet. So he wants to get his money, and he's bringing Charlie because Charlie knows this bookie. So to get there, it's Charlie, it's Tony, it's Johnny Boy as well. So they go to the pool hall, and they meet the main pool hall character, and they know Charlie is a kind of religious in a way, and so he's like teasing him. "Okay, hey, bless the table." He goes, "Bless my balls, bless all the players here." Then they get down to business, and Charlie's like, "You owe this guy money, and why you dicking him around?" So they go to he goes to pay him, and he goes to get a drink, and then there's another great scene stealing scene from De Niro. Now the jukebox is on. There's girls in front of the jukebox, and then Johnny Boy, he goes, "Hey, do you think you can turn down the jukebox?" And the pool hall owner goes, "Well, the girls like it loud." And Johnny Boy goes, "Girls? You call those skanks girls?" And then a big fight happens, and then for the next couple minutes, um, there's this big fight, and Scorsese, he plays one great. He knows where to put a great song during a scene, and during the scene, it's Mr. Postman is playing. "Please wait a minute, Mr. Postman," and you think something like that doesn't work, but once you will see the scene, it's just an amazing scene. The fight is finally broken up by the cops, and then um, the pool hall uh, owner finally pays up. They get into another little fight, and then they run out of the pool hall. So another really cool scene, and that's a lot of this movie. It really is a lot of really cool scenes in this film. There's another really cool one. Now, if you had seen his previous movie, Boxcar Bertha, you know that David Carradine was in there. So this movie has two Carradine brothers. Okay, so we first see Robert Carradine show up, and then we see David Carradine. He's drunk, and he's just like, swerving back and forth. He's lying on top of the bar. And he gets up and he just announces to the whole bar, "Hey, I gotta go to the bathroom." So he does. Okay, so he goes in there, and then his brother Robert follows him, and next time we see them, you see Robert. He's leaning up against the wall, kind of half sleeping, and then you see Robert shoot him 3 times, and then he just starts, you know, rushing towards David. He just starts rushing towards his brother Robert. Obviously, they're not playing brothers in the movie, but it's funny because then he starts choking him, and then Robert shoots him a couple more times, and he's still going after after him. So everybody leaves the bar, and so they hear the cops coming, and everybody rushes out of there. So another really cool little scene there, and I think that might have been one of Robert Carradine's first movie credits. All right. Last scene I want to talk about is the final scene where Michael finally confronts Johnny Boy about, you know, not paying him. He keeps on avoiding him. He's not paying him, and he's only giving him little amounts of money. And so Jimmy offers Michael $30. Michael's offended. He's like, $30? What is this? You know. So Michael, he wads up the money, throws it back to him, and just De Niro just gives another scene-stealing performance here, and gives this nice long speech about how he's borrowing money left and right from everybody, and has never paid him back. And then all he's now he can do is borrow money from him because he's the only jerk off they can borrow money from for not paying back. Um, a really cool scene. And so he's taking the money, he's lighting it, and he's telling them how he gives no shits about anybody, left or right. You don't care about anybody. And and then he goes, "That's what I think about you. He's a DD, you know." Um, so I'm not going to spoil anymore. But then he pulls a gun, and then Michael walks away, and then Charlie and Tony take the gun away, and they have to leave. Okay, they have to hide now. They have to go into hiding. So I'm not going to spoil the what happens after that, the aftermath. So in case you guys haven't seen it yet, but Mean Street, I think it's one of those scenes that kind of or movies that kind of gets hidden throughout Scorsese's filmography. I mean, Scorsese has so many great, great films that this one kind of gets buried, and I think it's underrated. Um, this is an early masterpiece, I think, by Scorsese. Now, this was released in October 14th of '73. 500K budget. It only makes about 3 million, which isn't bad at that time. Now, it's funny because now we got De Niro right as the lead in the credits, as you can see. However, after this film was released, De Niro won the National Society of Film Critics and the New York Film Critics Circle Award for Best Supporting Actor. So, and rightfully so, because he was a more of a supporting actor in this film. If you watch it, you can tell, if you've seen it before, Keitel is definitely the main lead in this film. But the powers to be gave it to De Niro. Actually, De Niro has starred in quite a few movies, like I said, prior to filming this, and Keitel was only in a small handful. So maybe that was their thinking. I'm not 100% sure on this, but really in reality, the film is pretty much about paying your debts, right? And what had the consequences if you don't. Now, there's a really good commentary from Scorsese, Madrick Martin, and Amy Robinson. Amy Robinson, who plays Teresa, is Harvey Keitel's girlfriend, which is one of the stresses that he has in his life. He doesn't. Again, his uncle Giovanni doesn't want him to be around Teresa or Johnny Boy. He wants him to hang out with the higher class people. So, but again, this is I think a fantastic film from 1973. Very underappreciated, one that's not really known, and I want this to I want you all to see it if you haven't. So this is Mean Streets, okay? So again, I'm not 100% sure how often I'll be making videos. I do two other shows, as some of you may know. Now, one of them is called Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, which I do with my friend Andy Nichols, and I'll leave the links down below. The other one is called Talk More Talk, which is a solo Beatles video cast that I do with my friends Ken Michael, Kittle Toole, and Joe Mayo. Okay, so again, if you're a fan of Paul McCartney or the solo Beatles, that's what I do um, as well. So, like I said, the links will be down below. I will have a movie review, out of theater movie review coming soon, as Robert De Niro's new movie about my father comes out this weekend, and my wife and I will review that film. Okay, so y'all take care, and I'll be talking to you soon. See ya.